Hi, and welcome to another episode of Tech 5, where we talk about some of the things we're hearing in the C suite about using technology to improve business efficiency, improve employee productivity, as well as mitigating risk. Hi again, I'm Dave Allen.
I'm Undel Williams.
Yes,
On
and
this
this
episode of Tech 5, we will explore the issues of securing internet access from within the boundaries of the corporation, that is, at the head office or at a branch office, as well as outside the boundaries where your employees or execs may be traveling or maybe at home or working from somewhere else other than the office.
Indeed, under we're gonna really zoom in on this whole issue of securing internet access. I know, and our position here at Info Exchange is that the traditional things that we've been using over the years, antivirus, URL filtering, those things alone are no longer enough. One of the reasons why technology has changed, the way we do business has changed, where we do business from has changed. In fact, we always say, work is a thing you do, no longer a place you go. So, we're going to be looking at some of these things, all these changes, and some of the issues that we see, and some of the things that the C suite need to be concerned about.
Definitely. We'll be answering some of the top questions that we hear from the C-suite, and we'll also be addressing the solution. How Zscaler internet access can actually save your company from a breach that will actually put you on front page news.
Indeed, because, and again, we can't stress it enough. The where people are doing business has changed. They're no longer only doing work from within the corporate network. They're doing work everywhere. They're doing work outside in the cloud. They're doing it from home. So you have to ask a question. Well, where's the perimeter? Where's the edge of my network where I need to put my walled security? So that has changed. So it should clue you as well. Something else is going on here. I don't know if you can think some more on that one.
Definitely. I mean, the traditional security layers that you have at headquarters or within your data center through which users are being protected are no longer effective because your users are working from anywhere. So therefore, you have a situation where zero-day threats are
Right.
actively bypassing your security
You know,
measures.
that's a key thing, Ondel. Everything you hear in the media today about breach, those guys had a firewall. They had those detection mechanisms, yet they got bypassed. Something is not right. Something is changed, or something is being done or not being done. Why these people are being vulnerable and getting broken into?
Definitely. Another things that we hear are branch users complaining. Branch internet access is actually done through the actual central location. So therefore, you're wanting to go direct to the internet. But because of security issues, the IT or security organization within the corporation are saying, okay, you need to go through this set of security stack or measures before you can get out to the internet. And yet, even with that, as you said before, breaches are still
Yeah,
happening. So therefore, something is not right.
yeah. That thing you mentioned in the past. When the traditional security was working for you in the past, the branches only occasionally access the internet because everything was on net. Everything that I needed to do was right there. So the occasional times where they need to get out onto the internet, coming the traffic from the branch back down the wide area network to the data center, through the firewall, out to the internet to get whatever they needed. And then that traffic then traverses all the way back down through the firewall, through the WAN, back out to the branch office, a thing we call backhauling, is was happened more infrequently. But now as we do more and more business online, there's more and more
Yes.
traffic going,
Microsoft 365,
all of those things. So
Microsoft Teams.
there's a lot more branch traffic. It makes far more sense as I'm doing more and more activity in the cloud to be able to break out at the branch to the internet
And to secure it.
and to keep it secure.
Right. That means what we're securing and how you need to secure it has changed. The traditional security measures such as antivirus, URL filtering, and of course your firewall, we have now outgrown those measures.
Right.
We need a no They're no longer effective in actually securing your digital assets and your users, because your users are no longer sitting in a stationary position behind your corporate firewall.
And the other thing too is that you are more and more companies are more and more vulnerable now because data, which is the oxygen for your business, is what these guys are after, and they're not after it to steal it. They're after it to take it away from you and then hold it to ransom using a thing called ransomware.
Right?
And the
Ransomware.
ransomware
Mhm.
attacks have increased 14,000% in the last few months. That's due to COVID. The in 5 years ago, it was the breaches were rated at about 345 million.
Yeah, in
Today,
terms of ransomware. Mhm.
into 2021, it's expected to top $20 billion worldwide.
So ransomware is big business. And therefore, the corporations that are basically leaving their security to chance are up for ransom, broadly speaking.
Indeed. So and the key thing again is you're using data more. It's more important to you, and two, I am no longer my staff are no longer only operating within my network. They are going to the cloud. I keep stressing that
Definitely.
so what you're doing before is not enough. So I think we're understanding the general context of what's happening today, that again things have changed, and the C-suite guys now need to look and consider these changes and how to now operate from within that context.
So antivirus is signature based, so therefore it only knows what it knows and can only protect against what it knows. URL filtering assumes that I know which sites are bad and which sites are good, but attackers also know that, so therefore they are infecting legitimate sites. And the your IT security stack is only protecting those that are within your boundaries and is not protecting those that are outside your boundaries. So therefore, the traditional approach to internet security is becoming irrelevant. Applications have moved outside the data center. Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365, which is a Teams is a part of that. Then you have the SaaS applications like Salesforce and the others, Oracle Financials and so forth, have moved outside. And as well as your users have moved off the corporate network. They're working from anywhere. So why is internet security still in the data center?
Yeah, that don't really make much sense to me. But so some of the things that I've been hearing when we're talking to the C level is things like, how do I know whether my security that I've put in place is adequate? How do I know it's working for me?
David,
No.
David, let me just say this. What if I gave you a link to ransomware? And I'll answer it like this. What if I gave you a link to a ransomware? And I said, send that link to your C-suite and your board members. Include them too. And ask them to click on it. Would you be comfortable and saying, I have nothing to worry about? Or would you be shaking in your shoes and looking for the next exit? I think that is the acid test. That meaning that if you're not testing your security, you will never know whether you're secure enough. And security is not a static position, it's a process.
But the thing is, they'll say that, but I have antivirus. I
Yeah,
have antivirus on
we
there.
spoke about that. We spoke about that.
And so let's reinforce it. Thing is, the antivirus is signature based. What happens if it's, as you say, a new variant? There's no
Mhm.
signature for it yet, so it doesn't know what to protect. And
Right.
and that is the thing. Why before you click, when you ask a question, each and every person in that list would pause and say, "Should I?" And yes, you should always ask that. But could you confidently click that thing and I know that my security stack is going to prevent it?
You
And the
know,
answer is
David,
no.
so many executives believe that what they have in place is sufficient. They have been told by their IT organization that we're covered. Or they are looking at the situation from the lens of, I'm not going to spend money on that because as far as I'm concerned, that's not important. But we beg to differ.
Yeah, there may not be connecting the dots between the risk and what the consequence is.
Right.
All right, and again, your data is your oxygen, for your business. But then, of course, I get this thing where what I'm small. Why am I a target? I'm little. I'm a little fish, out in the ocean. Nobody's gonna come after me. But is
You
that
know,
true?
as I would say, who else? The answer to that is, if if you're a low hanging fruit, why not? Why not? Because this industry, this whole cyber hacking industry, or is actually an industry, meaning that you have players in which actually create the malware, you have those that create and sell the malware, and you have those that actually just buy such malware, purchase such malware, and use it. So therefore, it is an industry where, if you have a vulnerability and I can buy a piece of malware and you're not protected against it, then I'm going to send a wide net out there and I'm going to try and hack you. And
Yeah,
if I'm
exactly.
successful, then guess what? If it's ransomware, then I'm going to ransom you. And
Exactly.
you're going to have to pay me. If you need back that data, you're going to
Right.
have to pay me. So therefore, if you use a PC or a smartphone, you're at risk. And I mean,
Exactly. If you use a PC or anything to connect to the internet, if
yes,
you use data, you're at risk. They don't care whether your data may not be important to them. Your data is important to you.
that's right. That's
So
right. That's
without
right.
it, you will be, and that's the whole concept behind a ransom. So that's that one. Then, of course, we get the question about effective security leadership. I've heard that, it's my IT guy is taking care of that. It's relegated, 2 or 3 levels down to my IT guy. We say no, no. This is a leadership issue at the C level. Why? Because it's the shop.
Yes.
Without your data, you have no shop. You can always buy back more goods. You can always build over a warehouse. You can't recreate your data. It's gone forever. And then what are you going to do?
Right. So security efficacy, meaning that as executive leaders, you need to make it clear that threats have no place in my corporation, and
Right.
and provide the requisite financial resources and staff to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because it's just like business continuity. Why would you risk your organization being compromised, risk your reputation, and have a situation where you're breached, when
Mhm.
it's just a matter of simply addressing security issues?
Right.
So just like how you address disaster recovery issues, you have to address security issues because they're business impacting.
Precisely. And for those who feel that, again, we repeat, for those who feel that I am putting in these measures and these measures of antivirus and URL filtering, I've put it in place, meaning I'm good. It is not a static situation. Things have changed, things continue to change. And the fact that many organizations that you hear about in the media that have been breached, they had those things in place. I repeat
Yes.
again, it has to be at the C level to lead, to find and implement the best within this context that has changed. So one
Definitely,
of the things
definitely.
then under that we could really move forward here now on is to start to talk about how we would go about solving and addressing these things with a particular solution that we represent. I don't know if you could just sort of
Yeah.
speak to that.
Well, in light of what we have discussed so far, To secure internet access, you need a multi-layered approach to security. Antivirus deals with what it knows. If it has a signature for it, it will deal with it.
Right.
Yes. URL filtering actually deals with securing you
But
against what we call bad URLs, bad
yep.
websites. But
Right.
legitimate websites are being compromised. So therefore, yes, you must have antivirus. Yes, you must have URL filtering. And then of course the firewall actually says, okay, I'm going to block what I don't want coming in. But firewalls by default actually open HTTP, which is browsing, and HTTPS, which is secure browsing. So therefore, by default, you find that your
Mhm.
firewall protects you against certain things, but in terms of internet access, it really doesn't, because it's not doing deep inspection. And even when it's doing deep inspection, it is not inspecting SSL.
Right.
And if it tries to inspect SSL, you'd have to purchase a lot more hardware just to do a simple thing, just to do that.
Right. But this solution that we're talking about, this multi-layered solution, this is a Zscaler internet access solution,
Yes.
right, which would
Zscaler
provide.
internet access. Yeah. Yes.
Mhm. Right. Right. So it provides this multi-layered security. And I know I want to zoom back in momentarily on this thing on SSL. And why I bring it up is because I have heard in my conversations with many, many people in the industry, consumers, customers, that SSL is my security to the internet. No, not quite. SSL is secures a connection between a website and you who is browsing that website. It's a secure tunnel. The data that passes up and down inside that tunnel is not secure. So, if the website is infected, which is what the bad guys are doing, if the website is infected, it will securely pass
That's right.
malware down to you. And your firewalls have assumed that that site is trusted because
Hmm.
it has SSL. So I
Yeah.
trust it. So you let it in. And as you
Hmm.
mentioned, if firewalls now start to inspect SSL, it has to unpack the encrypted packets
Yes.
and look into it. To do that means a far bigger and bigger and bigger firewall,
Hmm.
which, as it's the only avenue into your office, becomes now a bottleneck and a performance factor.
That's correct. So therefore, if we're saying, having security on premise is not enough because one, to do all that security processing would just be too expensive.
Mhm, mhm,
As well as we're saying, okay, antivirus is not enough.
mhm.
And we're also saying that users are no longer behind the the the
Right,
the, the, the firewall, which
right,
is actually not so effective
right,
for securing internet access, and they're
right.
actually working from anywhere. Then, if your users that are within your corporation at your branch and outside of your corporation at a coffee shop or at home or traveling are accessing the internet, then the logical place to put your security is in the cloud. That ultimate
There you go.
layer of security, that final layer, must be in the cloud.
Precisely.
And that is where Zscaler internet access comes in.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. And I'm going to move on to another thing that Zscaler provides, and I'll speak to it in this way. If you, and it's regarding that you're enforcing security in the cloud. And I put it to you this way: most of your workforce now use laptops. They pack up their laptop and then they go home at the end of the day. They leave from behind the corporate firewall, the protection of the corporate firewall, and then they go home, they go out into the wild, and they access the internet. And they get breached or they get infected. They bring that laptop back behind the firewall the next morning when they come back home, back from work, and what happens? The infection now joins onto your network and propagates through the network. So you need to find a way to make sure that no matter where you go, as work is no longer a place you go, but what you do, anywhere, everywhere, you need to be able to make sure that that user is protected wherever they go. In other words, the perimeter must follow them. The perimeter must be around them everywhere.
Right.
Hence, again, like you say, it must be in the cloud.
Must be in the cloud.
Right.
And security must be enforced instantly in the cloud.
Right.
And that is one of the biggest features of Zscaler Internet Access.
Right. I'll go to as a third thing, which is,
Mhm.
Zscaler Internet Access. They're processing 100 billion transactions per day in the peak periods, and they're tracking 100 million threats per day. And what's important, as you had mentioned before, is that they're pushing out 120,000 unique security updates every day, applied every 15 minutes,
And on demand,
and
where
on
required.
and on demand, and on demand. So as it lives in the cloud, it's this umbrella. So no matter where you go, it follows you. Okay,
Mhm.
it's processing 100 billion transactions, and it is pushing out these updates on demand and every few minutes.
So therefore, if it's processing 100 billion transactions, that means what is happening in the far side of the world that has not reached to the other side of the world,
Right.
you're being protected against. Because if it's in the east and something broke out in the east in terms of a malware,
Mhm.
by the time you wake up, that means you're already protected
You're
because
also
this
protected.
umbrella, you're under this
Right.
umbrella, the single umbrella that protects the very biggest corporations in the world,
Right.
multinationals.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. And then now, we speak about the fast user experience. Remember, security sometimes is cumbersome to how I want to work. So I must keep my staff secure, but allow them to be just as productive or more, no matter what they're doing. Otherwise, they'll
Correct.
bypass it.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have any other further thought on that one.
I mean, if if my security is actually going to obstruct my work, think of a employee. Anytime security obstructs their actual work, they're going to turn it off if they can, or they're going to use something else to
Something else. Yep.
access
Yep.
that work. So
Mhm.
therefore, you do not want your users bypassing your security. You want your security to be invisible. You want
Right.
your security to be everywhere. So therefore, your security must be in the cloud. And for 9 years in a row, Zscaler Internet Access is a leading web security gateway, according to Gartner. 9 years in a row.
And I guess to wrap up, the fifth thing is that thing that we had mentioned earlier. How do I know it's working? I need some visibility, some real time visibility, and able to quickly troubleshoot and diagnose user issues.
Definitely. I mean, real time access to what is happening, the latest threats, to what is happening to your user base, and how to further protect them is invaluable. And the only way that you can have that is at cloud scale.
Indeed.
Cloud scale, meaning that you need to be get receiving information that is accessible not only through your organization, but the information that is being fed into the system to make it more intelligent. And if you're
Mhm.
operating at cloud scale, then you're right. You're in the right mix. You're in the right
Well,
mix.
I would just to tie all of this together. I just give an example of a friend of mine who has a doctor's office. Okay, he got hit with a ransomware attack. Now this guy had his antivirus, right? And had his firewall. Okay, he did get hit, and the ransomware came in. I think it happened from somebody who clicked a link, right, in an email, and it propagated through his network. It found it found his backup and encrypted that as well, and then gave him a nice little message about pay him some Bitcoin.
Ah, I mean, it has happened to corporations around the world. I
Yep, yep.
mean, the very big corporations that have the very best
Right.
what we call the very best security, but it's
Mhm.
usually traditional security.
And
It
that's
has
what he
happened.
was. Right. And guess what? He had embraced this digital transformation. He didn't keep paper files anymore. Everything was gone, had gone digital. All his thousand and odd customer records. So he was really in a world of hurt. But the point is, he was a moderately sized organization who thought he was fine. And turns out that he wasn't. Again, the data is important to him, not to the guys who hacked it. So, Under, lead us in a bit of a recap.
So antivirus alone is not enough, and you need, you know, someone may say, how do you choose your antivirus? One, if you are secured by Zscaler, it has actually quite a bit of antivirus engines in the cloud to protect you at cloud scale. But you know, when you're not accessing the internet, you still need antivirus on your machine. That antivirus must be next gen antivirus. Antivirus must have ransomware protection. It must have intelligent threat feeds. And of course, that antivirus must be powered by the cloud.
Right,
Antivirus today must be powered by the cloud. So when you're accessing the internet, it is actually using the internet to help you to become more
right,
secure.
right. And then, of course, you had mentioned before URL filtering. URL filtering works on a known bad. If you don't know it's bad, then you're in a problem.
You still have to have it, but and Zscaler Internet Access actually has that built in as well. And to secure internet access, really and truly, you need a multi-layered approach. And Zscaler Internet Access actually includes every single layer that you would that you would have traditionally, but at cloud scale.
Right,
And that is being updated at cloud scale. So therefore, no longer this waiting for signatures and everything at cloud scale and on demand. So
right,
that is
right,
the benefit of it, being protected in real time.
right. And if we weren't all now moving and working in the cloud, this would be not an issue. But the fact is, we are. So your traditional approach of a network centric security stack is no longer going to work. The network is no longer the center of gravity.
No longer the center of gravity, David. And Zscaler Internet Access is secure internet and web gateway delivered from the cloud. It provides a full security stack with all the in-depth protections you'll ever need. By making Zscaler your first hop to the internet, your users will be covered by this nice big umbrella that keeps you secure and keep you sleeping at night.
That's important. In fact, guys, if you want to go out and check and see, make an assessment as to the status of your network, you can go to securepreview.zscaler.com. Click that link, and it will check and see and provide you with a report to see what your current posture is vis-a-vis accessing the internet.
This has been another episode of Tech 5 from Info Exchange, where we answer questions from the C-suite that that they were afraid to ask or
Always wanted to know.
always wanted to know. Good. So,
All
another
right.
episode from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. All right.